Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So we are back with Sulky Hulky. It's a new season, it is a new time to pull new cards. So we ended the last video at 852 collection log, we are now 994. We have 12 collector's caches to pull, and these are the last caches, Baron Mordo, unfortunate. These are the last caches, ooh, Psylocke, beautiful. These are the last caches that we're able to pull before we get into the collector's reserves. And so we are hoping for some decent pulls today, so that we have some more build around cards. I didn't even think Thor was added yet. I thought Thor was in the next patch. That's amazing. That's amazing. We can build a Thor deck now. We have Jane Foster from the free event. But, oh wow, I was not expecting a Thor. Okay, let's go ahead and keep pulling. Maybe we can get a variant. Maybe we can get... Okay, well, that's... I want Kingpin to be good, but I haven't found a great deck to run him in. And then Rock Slide is really tough to use to get much utilization out of his rocks that he shuffles into the deck. And then we got Jane Foster, boosters. We have... All we're missing now is Mystique. And we will have completed I can't, how? Oh my gosh, we didn't have to wait that long for you this time. So for those of you that maybe aren't following my other videos, Wong was one of the very last cards that I pulled in my pay-to-play account. And so for today, as a recap, we pulled Baron Mordo, we pulled Psylocke, which is beautiful for a Mr. Negative like ramp deck. We have Thor, which is also beautiful. Kingpin, Rockslide, and Wong, all phenomenal cards. I mean, well, they're all cards. Some of them phenomenal, some of them not so much. So which one do we end up building a deck around? I could see playing a Ghost Rider as a way to cheat out an early card. We could run that in like a lockdown list. We could do a Mr. Negative, which feels okay, but I mean, at this point, I feel like everyone is kind of overseeing the Mr. Negative decks. We could do Polaris, but her impact is pretty low. I'm thinking we try to build a Wong only deck. A Wong and then pull one and pull two cards. So we group together any high impact on reveal abilities that we can find with Wong to make this worthwhile. And so let me go ahead and start drafting something. This is going to be completely different than most things that I run or that I have ran before. Because we did pull Wong, I do want to build something around him. I'm going to go ahead and jump over into the deck draft, and then we will be right back. All right, so we did end up finishing a draft, and I think this could be a decent deck, but at the same time, it could end up just being okay. So with limiting ourselves to pull one and pull two cards, the on reveal abilities are okay, but most of them are higher cost. And so I wanted to figure out a way to make that work within the confines of this list. And so I came up with a way that I think is going to be okay. And so running through the deck list really quickly. First up, we have Sunspot. Sunspot is going to be good with a couple of the other cards that we have in this list, namely our Storm. So Storm, if we can drop Sunspot and then drop Storm on 3 in that same lane, if we need to pass to get a little bit of extra power and push more power into that lane, we can. It gives us that ability to grow that lane even after it's been locked down. We have Iceman as a way to lower our curve, and it adds a little bit of disruption into the opponent's game plan. So maybe we hit their Devil Dino and then they can't drop it into the Stormed lane on 4. They have to wait an additional turn. A lot of times Iceman, you won't be able to see the impact or really feel the impact, but I promise it is there. And then we have Scorpion, another card that can feel lackluster. Sometimes it's not going to do really great things, but sometimes it is absolutely going to win you the game. If you hit their Iron Man, their Mystique, if you hit their Jubilee, it becomes a 0 power card that they're throwing onto the board, which isn't a huge swing, but his overall board presence at 2 cost, if he hits 4 cards, is a 6 power 2 cost card, which is pretty big. Then we have Ironheart. She is going to either be played into the Wong lane to give us some additional push in the Storm or one of our other lanes that we're competing for, or she's going to be dropped a little bit earlier to push that power into a very specific lane. So if we really need to know that it's going to go into that stormed lane. Maybe we drop her before we drop Wong, but nonetheless, she has a very good overall impact onto the board and onto the game. And then we have Wolfsbane. Wolfsbane is one of the best on reveal cards for your early pull 1, pull 2 cards. If you can drop her into one of the last 2 slots in the lane, she's either 5 or 7 power. If you drop her into a Wong lane, she's pretty much going to be able to win that lane. If she's the last card, instead of 7 power, she's going to end up being 13 power, which is a huge 3-cost push. And then if we can then invest resources elsewhere, if we've already gotten that lane pretty close, that enables us to do a lot of really good, really high-powered things on that final turn. And then even if we just drop her in a lane that's not Wonged, it's not Wong to drop her. It always offers a pretty decent amount of power. A 3-cost 7-power card is a huge presence just by itself. And then we have Storm. I've been really enjoying being able to lock down a lane, make it where that cards can't be played there. It takes out one of those elements of RNG. If you can almost ensure that you have that lane locked down before the end of the turn, you can much more easily assess where the opponent's going to play their power in the last couple of turns. And we have the potential ability to push some power into that lane even after the fact. So if they think they've won it and we hit a double white tiger, we may be able to push that power and guarantee that it goes into that lane on that last turn to swing it in our favor. And then we have Jubilee. Jubilee is going to be a good card to follow up the Storm as a way to just generate some RNG, some potential high impact, high luck card. Or if we're running kind of late, we're really pushing that late game and we haven't had a great draw so far, we can drop Jubilee into a Wong lane and she will pull 2 cards. That way we can fill up the lane. Maybe we can get some good utility cards from that pool, but she just enables some extra options. We will need to pay attention to what is left in our deck before we drop her, because if you just drop her onto the board without much forethought with this deck list, you might end up pulling some bad cards that you don't really want into that slot, especially if you're going to be capping out that lane. And then we have our friend Wong. He is going to enable us to do some really cool things with these on reveal abilities, whether it be Odin, whether it be Ironheart, Wolfsbane, all really high power cards. So probably the ultimate high roll would be having maybe Ironheart in a lane by herself. We drop Wong on top of it on 4. On 5, we drop something like a White Tiger. And then on 6, we drop Odin, which would then re-trigger all of those on reveal abilities again, or something along those lines. So even a Wolfsbane, if we dropped her in an empty lane and then the opponent thinks, well, they've lost their mind, we can then hit it with a double trigger at the very end of the game to make some crazy swings happen after we drop Wong behind her. And then we have White Tiger. White Tiger is going to add a 7-power Tiger token to another location. This is going to allow us to push power into either Sanctum Sanctorum, a lockdown lane with with a storm, with a kiln location. It enables us to push some decent power into those other lanes, and if we hit it with a Wong, that is going to push a massive amount of power. So if we hit the turn 4 Wong, turn 5 White Tiger, turn 6 Odin, that is 28 power that we were pushing onto the board in those other 2 lanes, which is going to be pretty hard to compete with. And then we have Gamora. Sometimes we are going to want to play a card where we can really push some extra power. If we play Gamora into the Wong lane and they happen to play a card in that lane as well, we can push her up to 14 power. If we then re-trigger it, we can push her up to 22 power potentially, which is nuts. If you hit the double on reveal for her, I guess the quadruple on reveal, double with Wong and then the double with Odin, her impact is just absolutely nuts. And then we have Odin, who is going to let us re-enable all of these on reveal abilities, all of these really good on reveal cards that we have to make that impact absolutely phenomenal. And then lastly, closing out the list, we have Chavez. Chavez is going to allow us to draw into some of our other pieces a little bit more consistently. Some games we may just want to drop her on 6. Other games we may have Odin in hand that we want to drop instead, but she will enable us to draw Wong more consistently, draw Wolfsbane, Storm, Sunspot, all of the cards that we want early. We will have them much more often with Chavez. Now, this one probably feels like the first one up on the chopping block if you have a better on reveal card that you would rather put in its place. So maybe something like a Black Widow. Or another good on reveal card, maybe from pool 3. I feel like you could reasonably cut this card for that. Maybe even a Psylocke to ramp into your Wong early. you can play around with this last slot if you have some of the additional pool 3 resources. And so that is the rundown of the deck list. I am excited to see how this one goes because I did kind of draft it just blindly. It is something that I think could be pretty decent, depending on how the draws go, what we're matching up against, what the meta looks like. So I am excited to jump in and give it a try. And so we will see you guys there. So first up we have Dracula, and in our starting hand we have our Scorpion that we're going to be able to play early. Ooh, and they have an Ebony Maw, so either they're running a deck that can go wide, or they're going to do something like a Cloak towards the end to be able to move Ebony Maw or cards over. I don't know. There's several possibilities they could be going with the Ebony Maw, but I think what we're going to do is we will drop our Scorpion into the embassy lane, the Wakandan embassy lane, to negatively impact their space to play. And then maybe if we draw Storm, we change Murder World, because that would most likely be the location that they're going to want to drop their Spectrum to buff their ongoing cards at the end of the game. And then Strange Academy is in this third slot, which will be able to potentially push cards over into the Wakandan embassy lane for them, which feels incredibly unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate as a flip, but I think we're going to go with Sunspot and Iceman. So they storm the Murder World by themselves. Interesting. So they do have a deck that can go wide, don't they? I don't see any other reason for them to do that. But Storm becomes much less impactful because of the Strange Academy location. What we can do is stack cards into the Strange Academy lane. We can then have them pushed into one of these other 2 lanes after that point. Do we want to drop Jubilee here? We have 5 cards that can pull into. So if it does pull into a Wong, playing it into the flooded lanes feels bad. Oh, so they go with a Typhoid Mary. Interesting. What is this? And so we do drop the Jubilee. It pulls into Chavez, which is not bad for him. It's definitely not bad as a Jubilee pull compared to some of the other cards we could have gotten. And so we could go with a White Tiger, which would push power elsewhere. I think we're going to go with the Wolfsbane instead, though. Wolfsbane is going to be able to get the max trigger of her own reveal ability. She'll be 7 power. Sunspot will absorb 2 more power as well, and then they will move after this turn into one of the other locations. So they drop a Doc Ock, which tries to pull in cards, but our lane is capped out, and so that's not necessarily an issue. Okay, so we are ahead in the Wakandan embassy lane. They are ahead in the flooded location. I think it comes down to they're not able to play cards into the Wakandan embassy. If they had a Spectrum, they could buff that up by 2, or they could buff that up by 4, and it would tie us. I think we're going to pass here. We could do an Ironheart. We could do our Gamora to try to be competitive in Strange Academy. But I think we just pass. I think we pass as long as they don't have a Spectrum buff, then we win. We win the left lane and the mid lane because Sunspot is going to absorb that energy. And so very fortunate that the cards positioned themselves where they did. We did not get to see the utilization of Wong this game. It seems that he is being rather shy, but I promise before too long we will have that effect trigger. All right, so next up we have Schmitty. Our starting hand, we have both Scorpion and Sunspot. I think we play the Sunspot into this unknown location. We play Scorpion into Elysium. That way, if we do at some point either draw into Wong on 4, or we drop a Wolfsbane and we end up using Odin in this lane, on 5, we'd be able to re-trigger Scorpion to have another negative impact on him. And so Scorpion is only going to impact 2 cards here, which is a little unfortunate, but that still makes his board presence a 2-cost 4 power, so that's okay. And then we have Iceman here. We also have Wolfsbane, but I think we're just going to play Iceman to further disrupt their play line or the cards that they can drop, and we can go from there. Maybe it'll disrupt their flow enough that it's hard for them to win. Ooh, and then the Kamar Taj comes in with the double on reveal. So if we can get Wong, that's going to be quadruple on reveals for like Wolfsbane, for a White Tiger. We could do some really great things with that location. We do have 1 rock that has been shuffled into our deck from Korg. Do we want to take the chance? Oh, we can't play Jubilee here or here. The only place we could potentially play Jubilee would be in Kamar Taj, but I think we just pass. So in the big house, 4, 5, and 6 cards can't be played there. They dropped Goose into Elysium, so the same thing, 4, 5, and 6 cost cards can't be played there. I think we are going to play our Gamora this turn. Maybe if they drop something there, we can get the upside. Yes, we do. That is a 14 power Gamora. That makes this lane almost impossible to win. And then we have the Ironheart, which we can double trigger, which I think we do. I think we go ahead and play Wolfsbane. I think we have this lane locked down. I think it's fine. And so what I'm wanting to do is be able to push power into these other lanes now. And so we're going to drop our Ironheart. On the final turn, we can drop Odin, which will re-trigger Ironheart. It has a higher percentage chance of hitting cards over here than over here, because at this point it will only have 2 targets in the right lane and 3 in the left. And so I think we'll have a good shot at winning based on that alone. And so they do have the Daredevil, so they can see what we ended up playing, but I don't know that they can control where the, oh my gosh, Ironheart hit, oh my gosh, twice. Oh, I just had to say that it was more likely that it would hit something in the Elysium lane, right? Oh man. So 2 out of 2 times it hit the only 2 targets in Kamartaj and only 1 of the targets in Elysium. So we are going to have to come in and hope whenever we double re-trigger Ironheart that it can push some more of the power over into Elysium. I think we're fine. I think it's really hard for them to drop more than 6-7 power into that lane with it being a 1, 2, or 3 cost card, but we will see. Maybe they drop a Shang-Chi in Kamartaj, but oh no, it hit all 3 targets over in Kamartaj. What are the low roll chances of that happening? We have a ridiculous 55 power, 56 power in Kamartaj. Absolutely nuts. We should have, oh my gosh, oh man, we should have, statistically, we should have been able to push enough power into Elysium. Oh, no way. So out of 4 triggers, that is 12 targets that it could have hit. It hit 3. 3 of them it hit over here, and there were more cards on the Elysium lane. Oh man. So even on the very last turn, it should have been split 50-50, and it should have hit 3 in that double trigger. Oh my gosh, absolutely nuts. Very good game, Schmitty. Very, very good game. I cannot believe that oh my gosh, I can't believe that. All right, next up we have wtih. And starting off, we do have Iceman, Scorpion, and Storm. So I'm probably going to stack all 3 of those into the far right lane to get a decent power push there before they even, well, with the Super Flow coming up, we can actually drop Storm on turn 2 instead. And I think we are going to do that. It gives us 1 additional turn to avoid them dropping power. If that would have been a negative lane, we can actually change it and turn it before that point. And so that's actually perfect for us. Okay, and so with their 3 energy, they do drop a card into the sewer system, so they drop Bucky Barnes. Okay, so I don't think that they will be able to push power wide. So as long as we can, I guess, lock down this lane this turn, we should be okay. I kind of want to drop Wolfsbane, but at the same time, I also want to save it for one of these other lanes or locations. Let's go ahead and drop the Scorpion. I think between that and Ironheart, which feels hard to rely on now after after last game, but I think we are going to drop our Scorpion. That actually pushes us up over in power, so even if they destroy their Nova, their Killmonger, or they destroy our Iceman, we should be fine. Okay, and so for turn 4, we have Gamora, which I think we can pretty much guarantee that if they drop a card, it will be in the sewer system. So I think we can get her vulnerability to trigger without much hassle here. So let's go ahead and drop Gamora into that far left lane. I doubt they disrupt the super flow, at least until they have 6 energy. So next turn, maybe they drop a what? wtih, you're proving us wrong. You just had to prove us wrong. Okay, so we actually get a decent card here. As long as they can't block us, then we can either do a double Wolfsbane and a double Ironheart on that final turn. And I think the double Wolfsbane should be enough to win us that location, even if they drop a Destroyer. So Destroyer would be 16 after the Nova buff and the sewer system negate. Bucky Barnes would be 5. Oh, so maybe they drop Destroyer on 5 actually, which they could potentially do. They snapped. I think we're going to let it play out and see if we can come up over their power level. Between Ironheart and Wolfsbane, we might be able to do it. Oh, right. So they dropped an Iron Man. So maybe they are not planning on running the Destroyer route this time. Interesting. But I think either way, we are going to go with the Ironheart with the Wolfsbane. That is going to give us a 13 power Wolfsbane, potentially a little bit higher power push from Gamora and Wong, but I think 13 power is going to be a decent push for us. So if they drop a Chavez, that's going to be 8, but it ended up being a 14 power lane. Yeah, I think we should be okay here. And so the last card that they drop, we drop the Ironheart. No way is it going to low roll us again. Ironheart does not want us to win, guys. Ironheart does not want us to win by any means. Oh my gosh. Out of 6 cards that Ironheart targeted, oh my gosh, Ironheart hit 1 time in the Wong lane. Ironheart, why do you have to do us like that? All right, make sure that you keep all of your secrets and shady deals to yourself, because next up we have Narc. And our starting hand, we do have Wong. Could this be the first Wong game? It has been so Wong. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and play Scorpion here into the big house, because we won't be able to play very many resources there. Otherwise we would have to rely on like a white tiger to push power over there. So we are gonna shuffle our cards back into our deck after this turn. So we are going to play both Sunspot and Iceman onto the board. We want to try to reduce the number of cards that we are reshuffling into our deck to increase the chance that we draw into these cards again. So if we didn't play Sunspot, we didn't play Iceman, we would have a chance to waste a draw and get those back. And so by playing 3 cards, we're going to shuffle 3 cards in and we're going to pull 3 cards out. Whereas if we had 5 cards, we would have a negative power, or a negative card presence, or a negative card total that we had available to play for the game. And so I think we play Sunspot into the big house. That way he can grow over time. Nidavellir is always a little bit tough, so I'm hesitant to drop too much power there, because if they have 1 Iron Man, they pretty much guarantee that they win that location. And so we are going to shuffle our cards in now. They do shuffle 5 of theirs. And then pull out only 3. So they have 7 cards left in their deck, and we have 5. So we did effectively increase the... Oh boy. Oh boy, we're going to the Ironheart Casino again, I think. I think we do Ironheart, we do Gamora, and then we do Odin. And so that will push power over into the left lane. It should. After our 2 hard losses, it should, but we don't know for sure. So let's go ahead and trigger Ironheart. Ooh, they have a Mr. Negative, which feels tough. They won't be able to play much in the big house, but that does tell me they most likely do have an Iron Man. And so that may be all it takes for them to win the Nidavellir location. Go ahead and play Gamora. I think we have to stick to our plan, stick to our guns, and hope that they don't have an Iron Man that they draw into. Because if they do, that pretty much is a wrap. That's all that they need. And so it's a Jubilee. It pulls into Sarah, which is unfortunate. So they are going to be able to play quite a few resources onto the board this turn. As long as one is not Iron Man, we have a shot. So Odin is going to re-trigger. We will have the same amount of... We will have 1 more trigger to potentially push more power into Sunspot. But this deck list doesn't run a whole lot of low to the ground cards. Especially not super early. So I think we have a shot in the big house. If they do have Iron Man or an Iron Man Mystique, then we might as well tell them GG already, or we might as well just go ahead and forfeit. But I do want to make them show it, because they only did have 2 turns to draw into it. So maybe they don't have it. But even if it's a non-inversed Iron Man, I don't know that they actually have to have the inverted option. That is a 0-cost Iron Man. So they're taking an awful long time to decide. Maybe they don't have their Iron Man, which would be beautiful. They have 4 cards left in their deck. So 4 chances of Iron... Ooh, no. No, sir. That's not great. So we have the Odin, which will re-trigger the Ironheart and the Gamora. So Ironheart, this time we are hoping that it hits Nidavellir. It only hits 1 card over here out of the 3. And so they have the Mystique, which copies nothing, interestingly enough. And then Rogue, but we don't have any ongoing abilities. So sorry, Narc. That is not going to cut it. So their Rogue doesn't do it. If we had been running an Iron Man, I think they were hoping that we would run some really strong ongoing card, and they'd be able to push that up and get a win out of it. But to win or to beat a negative serotonin, it is going to require a bit of luck, because all they'd have to do is hit an Iron Man there, even a regular cost Iron Man, and they would have been able to push their power to an insane level in the Nidavellir location. And so we will gladly take that victory and go. Maybe we've gotten all of our low rolls out of the way. All right, next up we have Cabeza with his big head and all. So the first location is Tinker's Workshop. So we get an additional energy. I am going to drop our Scorpion. Maybe we can hit 3 or 4 of their cards. We hit 4 of them, so nice. If they are running a Mr. Negative, then we hit 4 of their cards negatively. Therefore, he offered a 6 power board presence, which is pretty nice. I think we are going to follow up with the Iceman to disrupt their play potential. Maybe we hit a high priority target. Maybe we hit their Mr. Negative and it turns into a 5-cost Mr. Negative, which would be like the ultimate high roll, right? And then on turn 3, I think we go with the Storm play here. Again, we're assuming because we see Mr. Negative so much and so often right now, if it is a Mr. Negative, then they most likely won't play. So I'm guessing it hit one of their they're not happy about our Scorpion Iceman combo. So if it is a Mr. Negative, I assume that they're not going to be playing very many resources early, and so it's going to be hard for them to compete with the Stormed lane. Ooh, so they had a Bishop, so maybe that's a negative Serotonin deck. Do we need to push power here? No, we're going to go with Jubilee into Baxter Building. If we get Wong, that will pull another card out from our Jubilee. If not, then on 5 we can drop a White Tiger, or we can try to cap this one out so that when we drop a White Tiger, it will guarantee that it goes over into the flooded lane if we need that additional power. We may not even need the additional power. And so then they do have a Mr. Negative, so we were right. That they were running a Mr. Negative, but it didn't hit their Mr. Negative, so that's a little unfortunate. Even though they did have it in hand right away, because we did hit it with the Scorpion play. So then we get the Odin and the Ironheart, which is kind of a low roll. We don't necessarily, those aren't the best cards for us to have gotten. So I think we're gonna go with a Wong and a Sunspot here. Next turn we can go with the White Tiger if we want to push 7 power here and here. Or if we draw a Gamora, maybe we play Gamora here to try and make sure we win this location. I think it gives us quite a bit of flex. Oh, wait, we can't draw into Gamora. We're drawing into Chavez. So that actually kind of hurts us a little bit. So they play into the Baxter Building. What do they end up dropping there? They drop a negative Iron Man. So the Iron Man did get affected by the Scorpion as well, which is really unfortunate. It didn't get hit with the Iceman, unfortunately, or else they would have had to wait until turn 6 to play it. So to swing this location, they're going to have to play quite a few resources there. I'm kind of debating. I don't know which one I would have went with. We could have went with the White Tiger here, which would have pushed 7 power and 7 power. And so that way, if they did swing this location, we would have been 18. It would have pushed them to a 6 power win here. Actually, we wouldn't have needed to, right? In that case, I think the Chavez would have helped us lock down this one, or we could have even just Chavezed this lane. And then if they swung this location, they couldn't have swung this one. And so we would have had quite a bit of power in the Tinker's Workshop. And so we didn't get to see it play out all the way until the end. But I think that is largely due to our Scorpion Iceman combo. I think it probably hit some of their higher priority resources. Maybe Iceman hit their Sarah, so they're not able to swarm the board on turn 6 like they would have wanted. Maybe Scorpion hit their Iron Man, which then makes it a lot harder for them to elevate, because that -1 becomes -2 technically, because Iron Man is going to double whatever power level is in that lane, and so -1 becomes -2, so on and so forth. All right, so next up we have God's J, and in our starting hand we have the Sunspot. You know that we always like to play that into the unknown location for whatever reason. I am a big fan of playing it over there. Then we can also drop our Scorpion. That'll be perfect to lead into a turn 3 Storm, a turn 4 Wong over in like maybe Monster Metropolis. I think is going to give us quite a bit of advantage against God's J here. And so we do drop the Scorpion. It negatively impacts 4 cards in their hand. Ooh, and then the hollow location would be scary, but we're going to change that location with Storm. And so the perfect 4/5 follow-up, we could do Wong, we could drop Gamora there. If they drop a card in that Wong lane, Gamora is going to be huge, which could guarantee that we win that second location. So as long as we can lock this one down by enough. Oh, and then they drop a Bishop there, which is kind of scary. So maybe we do a Gamora and then we do like a White Tiger to push some power. Maybe we pass a turn. I don't know. But we are going to avoid playing in the flooded location for now. And so they do drop quite a few resources with Calling Wing, which triggers their swarm. And then their blade hits their Swordmaster, which is kind of unfortunate for them. Okay, and so here I think we do still go with the Gamora. They do have a few swarms in their hand that are going to be free. So they have 2 that they can drop for no cost. But if we can hit Gamora to trigger, oh my gosh, that is beautiful. If we can get Gamora to trigger, she's going to trigger twice. She almost guarantees that she will be the highest power card in that location because of that interaction. Okay, and so then we go with the double trigger Gamora, which then becomes a 17 power Gamora, which is absolutely nuts. So now it comes down to how do we win the other location? Even if we pass here, we don't get any kind of upside from this lane. We don't have a double white tiger. Even if we did have one, it wouldn't be enough. The Ironheart, we're never relying on Ironheart again. Plus, it would have to hit almost all three both times to be able to come up over their current power level. Not even to mention anything that they drop this turn, adding to their bishop. So I think we just go with the Chavez into the negative zone. If they do have something that is higher than a 9 power, then obviously they win. But they didn't have any more swarms. They didn't have their Swordmaster. They could have played something large here to potentially buff up the Angela, but that's also a little bit scary because then if we somehow push power here and here, then we would have won. But that is game number 7, win number 5. And we are going to go ahead and end the video after that one. Overall, this deck list feels okay. Getting a Wong early allows you to do some really silly things with Gamora. With White Tiger if you draw into it, like a White Tiger Odin. And I'm starting to think that Chavez is probably not a good fit here. But overall, the deck list felt okay, especially for a free-to-play style build going up against like negative serotonins, things like that. I think it feels all right. I think it has a place in current meta. You do have to get a little bit lucky on some of your draws, but even if you don't, you have some decent power and play potential with your Sunspot Storm combo. And then the Iceman Scorpion offers quite a bit of disruption for those other decks as well. I am going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.